Hello and welcome to another episode of TrekHammer, where we're talking about the latest episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. This one's the season finale, Hegemony. I've been looking forward to this one because I really hope that we go out with a bang for the end of the season, and yeah, there's quite a lot going on here. So, what have we got? Essentially, it's the standard thing. The crew beam down to a town that is remarkably reminiscent of old Earth. In this case, it's an old Midwestern America town, which I have to admit kind of made me chuckle because I'm from Northeast England, where we've got this kind of town, and it's called Beamish. It's an open-air museum, and it's basically a living town from like almost 100 years in the past, which is hilarious. So you can go and have this kind of experience, and it's really good fun. So I liked the way they'd done that, because it it was like, oh, look, they still do the weird stuff that we do only hundreds of years in the future. What I didn't like was the star date that came with that. Captain Patel gives a star date that starts with 2-3. And unfortunately, that rung alarm bells immediately for me, because it caused me to look up when that star date would be. And it would be while Captain Kirk is in command of the Enterprise, which he's not yet, because it's 6 years before. So, continuing the problem of early Star Trek not getting the star dates correct wasn't what I expected from an episode of modern Star Trek, but you know, these things happen. So that was a bit weird, and it kind of took me out of the episode a little bit. But then the the shuttlecraft. It's not a space shuttle. We don't use the space shuttles in the 23rd century. It's a shuttlecraft. So then the shuttlecraft crashing, and immediately it's like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? And immediate jump into action of the Starfleet crew. That was great. Got me straight into it. Now, I know a lot of people have had some issues with the Gorn, because it feels like a complete, not just aesthetic reboot, but cultural reboot as well of the entire species. I understand that we haven't seen a huge amount about the Gorn in original Star Trek, but we saw a bit about them in Enterprise, and they were a lot more animalistic in Enterprise, and then Strange New Worlds has taken it even further since. But I get it. Strange New Worlds and all of Star Trek, now that the Borg have got complete villain decay, need a new big bad guy. The Klingons can't be it, because we know they're going to be friends later on with the Federation. The Borg can't be it because A, the Borg aren't around in the Alpha Quadrant at this particular point in time, and B, we've seen the Borg done to death and we need something new. So I see why they've gone for a new species. It's unfortunate that they decided to reboot the Gorn, which is a species that we know Kirk's not familiar with when it comes to the episode Arena, and also we get to see them for the first time there and this, that and the other, but I get why they want a new villain. It's unfortunate that they've gone for essentially using the Zerg from StarCraft, or if you want to go back a bit further, the Xenomorphs from Alien, but that's kind of what Star Trek does. It takes standard ideas that have been done elsewhere and then does it in its own style, which is perfectly fine. I mean, any sci-fi or fantasy or anything can do that kind of thing. Look at how many different versions of vampires there are, for example. So I'm not saying anything like that. I mean, this isn't even the first time. The Klingons are kind of Mongol horde style clothing with, oh, we don't like the communist bloc. That's what their thing was in the original classic series. That just combined those Mongol horde looking outfits, sneaky communist infiltrators kind of styling. That was what they did. The Borg themselves are the Cybermen from Doctor Who, only taken with H.R. Geiger's styles and going, how can we make these really, really messed up? And then they made their own thing, and it's great. There's nothing wrong with doing your own version of a traditional thing. I mean, even the Xenomorphs from Alien, they're not original. It's the idea of the thing from another world, crossed with the supernatural stalker slasher type of movie that was coming into prominence with things like Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street and all of that. That would come. Some of them would come later, but it's the same sort of ideas. They're all mashed together into the Xenomorph. It's fine. That's what you do in these things. So I have no problem with the Gorn basically being the creatures from Alien or the Zerg from StarCraft. I have a problem with how they're going to match it with the Gorn that we see in Arena. Now, artistically, they're not that dissimilar. If you look at the facial structures of the modern Gorn with the originals, they're not that dissimilar. It's got the same kind of big brow ridges, the same kind of elongated muzzle, and very much reptilian. I don't know how they're going to reconcile the fact that the Gorn in Arena walks upright on 2 feet, whereas the Gorn in Strange New Worlds, and to a certain extent Enterprise as well, now I'm thinking about it, were definitely on all fours. Do they have like a multi-stage growth cycle where after a while they stand up in a bipedal? That would be interesting if that comes out of it. So I'm interested to see how that's going. And that kind of sums up my entire view of this episode. I'm interested to see where it's going. I want to see how this resolves. I'm kind of worried though, but not for the quality of the show. I'm worried for some of the characters because, how do I put this delicately? Captain Patel is not in the menagerie and never gets mentioned. What's going to happen? I have a horrible feeling that she's not going to survive until the end of this show. That's unfortunate because she seems like an interesting character. But speaking of characters, introducing Mr. Scott was very interesting. I like that. That was nice. We saw a kind of hint of him at the end of the last season with the alternate reality where we just hear a Scottish voice and then his hand offers something to Captain Kirk, and that's it. But now to see him, like, Mr. Scott. And I was watching this with my wife, and both of us, the moment that we heard that specific Scottish accent, we looked at each other like, is that Scotty? And it was. It's like, hello, Mr. Scott. It's good to see him. Nice to introduce the characters. I hope that he doesn't become a main character on the show because we've already got Spock, we've already got Uhura. I don't really want to see everyone come in and become the foundings of the characters that they're going to become. I think that isn't a necessary step in this show because we've already got characters in the roles that those characters would then replace. So a little bit wondering where they're going with this. If it's just a couple of episodes, like Captain Kirk pops in every now and again, that's fine. That would be great to see. But I want to see more of the characters in the positions at the moment rather than the ones that are going to replace them eventually. Speaking of replacing, what's wrong with Captain Pike? He seems very, very indecisive in this episode. He used to be the decisive character who, in Discovery, knew what needed to be done and made sure it happened. Here, they're asking him what to do when the Gorn are coming to attack, and he's just stood there like, sorry, dude, you're in charge. You've got to make the decision. You've got to make the call. Do you stand and fight and try and save the people that have been captured? Or do you leave and follow the orders that the Federation has told you? Get out of there. We're not wanting another war right now. Which, yeah, that's standard Federation practice. Oh, these big guys are a bit aggressive and they want this place, so we'll give it to them because we want peace. The Federation worships peace above everything else. So it's standard practice to say, yeah, just let them have it. There's plenty more space, just let them have it. But not when the Federation citizens who came to help and then got captured and caught up in all of this, not when their citizens are on the line. Surely, I mean, okay, the Marquis was exactly the situation where they just left the citizens behind, but you know what I'm talking about. So I want to see what happens there. And I don't think Pike was being decisive enough to justify him being the captain, which is a bit weird because we've seen him be decisive. He was decisive on the planet, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. I don't get that. I'm not sure what's going on there. And I hope that was just stretching out his worry and switch to dramatic decision-making in order to have the cliffhanger. But even so, it's verging on trying to be a little too dramatic when it was unnecessary. But all in all, what a show. I really enjoyed this episode. It's got a lot of characterization, so the characters are clearly moving forward. There's development. Christine Chapel is already on her way off the ship to go and do her next stage of development, and then was brought back, and everyone was worried. And we got to see a bit more of Hernandez. Quick addition. I keep calling the pilot Erica Hernandez. I have a terrible problem with names, and I'm slightly deaf, so I really have problems with what people are called when it's not a standard word that you would hear a lot, like cat, dog, computer, that kind of thing. It doesn't always process properly with me. Her name is not Hernandez. Her name is Erica Ortegas. I need to try and remember that. Sorry, it's going to happen probably throughout the bit where I'm talking about her character development. I just want you to know that I'm not doing it on purpose. I genuinely didn't hear what she was called properly. The pilot actually going on an away mission like she's been wanting for the entire season. We saw her looking so happy earlier on in the show where she was finally getting the chance to get off the ship and go on an away mission. And then she got to go on one. So she got the character development. It was nice to see that. And then she got a bit of time to reminisce with Dr. Mabenga, who is still there with the hidden badass attributes. I think he's going to be a big thing in the Gorn storyline. That'll be interesting. And it's nice to see all of the development. Even Una's starting to get some development. She's not just a blank robotic slate anymore, which is nice. She's actually turning into a person. That's very good. What is it, though, with Pelia and giving everyone low marks in her classes? My wife, Jen, she actually said to me at one point, does she just give everyone low marks? Which is true. It seems to have become her thing. She just gives low marks. So that was interesting. I want to see more of that. And all in all, I think everyone got something good to do in this episode. So I want to see the next part. It was very good. And as an ending to this season, yeah, that's good. It's trying to be on the level of Best of Both Worlds. I don't think it's quite there, but perhaps that's because I've seen Best of Both Worlds so much, and I remember it when I was a kid, and how it was like, wow, this show got really good, now I need to see more, now I can't. That kind of element. But yeah, it's good. Really, really good. And I would actually say, on a warp scale, warp factor 9.5, Mr. Sulu. Yeah, it's that good. I want to see more. I'm a bit annoyed that I have to wait. So it's done its job. I want to see more. I hope you enjoyed it too. And if you did, or if you didn't, please do let me know in the comments why. Because I love having the conversation with stuff about this with you guys. Like I did with the previous episode where we all had our different views. And I think most of us talked it through and saw why we all thought different ways. I like that. And I want to see what you thought about this one as well. So until next time, I've been Zoe Kirk-Robinson, you've been watching TrekHammer, and I will see you next time. Live long and prosper. If you like the show, please consider supporting me on Patreon. It really does help create future videos. That's patreon.com/Zoe Kirk-Robinson. And I've got an extra special thanks going out to Chief89, Sam Yates, Retro Mickey 82, Mo Henry, and George Botterini. Thank you so much, guys.